I love 13 Going on 30. And for someone who tends to gravitate towards films and media with a more serious tone, I know that's a bold statement. The concept on this movie is undeniably quirky. It's a blend of fantasy and realism that might not typically resonate with the kind of audience that prefers more grounded narratives. And yet, there's something genuinely beautiful about how this story is brought to life. Not just in terms of its moral lesson, but also in the very fact that such an odd, whimsical premise was made into a film in the first place. I'm aware that there's a whole genre of movies with similar quote-unquote body swap and sudden adulthood premises, but there's something in the approach of 13 Going on 30 that sets it apart. It's not just better executed, it's far more emotionally resonant, charming, and sincere than most of its counterparts.
I'm 13! Jenna, if you're gonna start lying about your age, I'd go with 27.
Set in 1997, the story begins at Jenna Rink's 13th birthday party. After a humiliating experience in front of her classmates, she makes a wish to be 30, flirty, and thriving. Miraculously, her wish comes true. She wakes up as a 30-year-old woman in 2004, living the glamorous life she always dreamed of, successful, stylish, and popular. But as Jenna navigates adult life with a 13-year-old's heart and mind, she begins to realize that the person she has become isn't who she truly wants to be. With the help of her childhood best friend Matt, she sets out to rediscover her values and make things right before it's too late.
I am Jenna Rink, big-time magazine editor.
From early on in the movie, we notice Jenna's aspirational side, her willingness to be cool and to abandon everything she perceives as uncool. Unlike Matt and Lucy, she hasn't clearly chosen a side yet. In fact, Matt and Lucy almost function like the angel and devil on her shoulders, pulling her up in opposite directions. At the beginning, Jenna is doing everything she can to fit in with the popular crowd, doing their homework and inviting them to her party. That night, however, she ends up humiliated and rejected. We can only assume that this painful experience triggered a shift that led her to become the adult version of herself.
I hate you! I hate me! I hate everybody!
Someone driven by ambition, approval, and image. When she magically wakes up as an adult, the initial weirdness fades and she becomes visibly fascinated by her grown-up life. She's wealthy, successful, has a beautiful apartment, tons of clothes and shoes, works with her best friend Lucy, and she's an editor at Poise magazine, essentially living the dream she had as a teen obsessed with Poise. From the outside, it all looks perfect. But as the movie progresses, the cracks begin to show. The shiny titles and luxurious lifestyle turns out to be hollow at best and insidious at worst. When Jenna reconnects with Matt, we learn they haven't spoken since high school. Jenna takes this especially hard. At 13, you assume your best friends will be around forever, and Matt was not just her friend. He was her connection to her authentic self. Learning they drifted so far apart only deepens her confusion and hopelessness. By the party scene, we see the power of Jenna's reconnecting with her roots. It's her awkward, playful authenticity doing the thriller dance that saves the night. In 2004, this could have been embarrassing and meme-worthy, but in the film it's a triumphant return to innocence. Ironically, the resurrection of the party is soundtracked by a song about zombies, an amusing nod to the emotional lifelessness of her adult persona. As things unfold, it becomes increasingly clear how dislike Jenna is in her current life. She's seen as cold, mean, and demanding.
I hope you choke on your own bile, you pretentious, conniving snake.
The people around her may smile to her face, but there's an undercurrent of resentment. When a coworker's husband tries to sleep with her in her office, and she's immediately faced with Lucy's plotting behind her back, it highlights not just how manipulative Lucy is, but also the toxic, isolating environment Jenna helped build. When she goes back to her parents' home, she confides in her mother about wishing she could go back in time. Her mother gives her tender, grounded advice that helps Jenna gather the strength she needs to try to make things right. This moment is not just about fixing her career or relationships. It's actually about reshaping her life, reclaiming her values, and reconnecting with the self she left behind. By the final act, we understand that Lucy isn't the true villain. Jenna is. or rather the adult version of Jenna, shaped by insecurity, ambition, and the need to belong. She haunts the narrative like a ghost, her presence felt in the interactions of others more than her own actions. We meet 13-year-old Jenna in a 30-year-old's body, but we don't truly meet the person she became, only the consequences of her choices. After learning Lucy has taken her spot by exposing Jenna's secret deal with Sparkle, Jenna rushes to Matt's wedding in a last-ditch effort to convince him not to marry someone else. It's not quite as obsessive as Jules in My Best Friend's Wedding, but the sentiment is similar, a desperate plea for a second chance. After Matt turns her down, Jenna ultimately gives him her blessing. She doesn't beg, she actually lets him go. Her final moment before turning to her 13-year-old self shows her sitting beside the dollhouse Matt built for her, trying to process everything that has happened. One can only assume that showing this acceptance to a past she never got to live actually kickstarted the second chance she gets next. And thanks to the magic of movies, she gets that second chance. Back in her 13-year-old body, she chooses differently, she kisses Matt, they build a future together, and in the final scene, we see them moving into the dream house that strongly resembles the dollhouse Matt gave her in her 13th birthday.
Beaver? Is that you?
Hey, Tom, how are you?
Actually, Matt as an adult is a great contrast to adult Jenna. From the beginning and by the end of the movie, we see that he's shown consistency in his personality through the years. Two of the biggest examples of these are him showing interest in photography as a kid and becoming a professional photographer as an adult. And to not go so far, we can also mention how he welcomed Jenna back after all those years of not talking to her. In spite of him being visibly hardened by the years, it was easy for him to recognize a part of himself that was reignited when Jenna came back into his life. After Jenna and Matt finish working on the photo shoot for Poise, they have a sort of intimate moment when they show the feelings they still have for each other. We also understand that not only Jenna benefited from a reconnection with herself, Matt also felt something he hasn't felt in years. And although he didn't stray away from his own inner child as Jenna did, he recognized that there are parts that inevitably get calcified by adult life. And Jenna revived that, which is something that completely throws him off from his current flow. He, for a moment, forgot not only that he was an adult, but also that he made an adult commitment to his current girlfriend. He has demonstrated consistency and a quiet but strong connection to his childhood self with these two examples, which makes him the ideal person to deliver the most loving but painful lines in the movie. Jenna goes to Matt and tells him that she doesn't recognize who she has become and expresses her willingness to be with him. And Matt also tells her he has feelings for her, while turning her down in the sweetest, most mature way a male lead in a rom-com has ever done.
You know what? You don't always get the dream house, but you get awfully close.
Take notes, Noah. By the way, you Noah. In spite of how good he's felt with Jenna, he's aware that he has made a commitment to a woman he loves and that he can't run away on a whim chasing after a childhood feeling. And in spite of this rejection, he shows her that he has kept the love he has for her alive by giving her the house she rejected when she was 13. Symbolically, we could say that Matt gave the feelings he's kept for the last 17 years back to her, so he can move on with his new life, while Jenna keeps something precious that shows her that she's always been loved for who she is, even if she failed to see it and even if the object of that love is going away with someone else.
Oh, which one do you want to be today, the pot or the kettle? If you don't mind, I'd like to be the pot. Maybe the kettle, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, they're both black.
We can also notice how even Lucy retained that consistency. Even if it's just to show the opposite of what Matt showed, Lucy's loyalty to herself is still present because she's always been insensitive and manipulative and enjoys the benefits of it, and she's not different in her adult years. There have been many indications of Lucy not being a good friend to Jenna while adults. She's rather condescending, uptight, and downright cold. All this keeping in mind the subtle comments that remarks she's always in competition with Jenna, something that her adult self probably grew accustomed to. This may be a stretch, but in the bar scene where Jenna was mistakenly hitting on that boy, she actually directs her to a guy who was checking her out. I would think she'd go after the guy Jenna refused to go after. You know that Lucy and Jenna's relationship is not healthy or genuine. Jenna, as an adult, behaves weird and childlike, and Lucy barely makes any comment expressing concern or attention. On the contrary, she can be very snide and subtly ill-intentioned, and the more the plot advances, the more evident it becomes. All this is reflective of the behavior she showed as a young girl, in which way we can say that doesn't betray herself the way Jenna does. In fact, she's acting according to her nature, even if it's mean and morally wrong. The following scene shows the reinvention take that both Lucy and Jenna had, and I have to say that I really like how their personalities came through in both their interpretations. While Lucy's is more aggressive, dark, and lifeless, Jenna's was more innocent, heartfelt, and warm, which resonated with a lot more people. To be fair, in reality, Lucy's idea had more of a chance to be chosen if this was a situation that happened in real life, because the fashion world is most centered in being exclusive and detached rather than providing the access and inclusivity Jenna proposed. We can see that Lucy never overcame the high school rivalry she had with Jenna, and that during their adult years, she most likely was waiting for a moment to reign over her or have a bigger advantage. And she got it when she found out Jenna's secret. Turns out that she herself was the one causing the demise of Poise by giving the ideas of the competition in exchange for a higher position in Sparkle, which in a way can indicate that Jenna as an adult almost beat Lucy in her own game, which shows intelligence, strategy, and determination, but at the same time drove her further away from her real self. The progression of Jenna's outfits and hairstyle are also remarkable in my opinion. Besides her first outfit, which are the fuchsia satin pajamas and the polka dot jacket, her very first ensemble is the iconic colorful Versace dress. A metallic eyeshadow paired with hot pink lip gloss, and last but not least, the hairstyle was inspired by the Poise magazine she had in her room in the article she read about being 30. I understand that this unforgettable dress is said to show a visual example that shows that it was young Jenna on the inside who made this choice, but maybe adult Jenna bought that dress as a reminder of who she was, but never used it because she had an image to keep. As the plot advances, we notice more pieces that emphasize Jenna's innocence through the choices she makes. The polka dot yellow dress paired with oversized red sunglasses she wears in her next scene while she's shopping exemplifies how her mind is very juvenile in spite of looking and living like a grown woman. The pastel colors and the cut of the dress are a perfect example of what a younger girl would wear, even younger than 13 in my opinion. The only glimpse of grown-up fashion in this scene is the high-heel red shoes that she picked to pair with her sunglasses. This is what a little girl would wear to look like an adult woman while not having full acknowledgement of how adult women dress. And this is a constant with her outfits. They tend to have this childlike quality, vivid colors, fun shapes, and hyper-feminine cuts, which are perfect to show the mindset Jenna is in, and which shows rather well how her mind evolves as the plot advances. Her next outfits are her trying to look more composed and grown-up, wearing more muted colors and grown-up shapes that would make her look like a grown-up, but her hairdo is something you would see a girl in 2004 wear. Take Lizzie McGuire, which is a perfect example of what a young girl pretending to be an older woman would wear. Her outfits in the scenes where she goes back to Jersey paint a different picture of what we've seen so far. She's no longer wearing lively colors and crazy hairdos. Instead, she opted for wearing denim, a simple black top with half-up, half-down hairstyle that emphasizes not only the grief she carries over that painful realization, but she's also wearing a more grown-up style, kind of showing the death of her innocence right after that happened. which perfectly matches the scene where she goes back to the wardrobe where she had her last memories as a child, alone and scared, and waiting to go back to a time where everything was simpler and safer. Her following outfits show a more coherent combination between the colorful outfits and the beginning with a more grown-up approach. She still wears some details that connect this more serious style with a younger, livelier touch. The cut and style of the outfits is more form-fitting and sexier, but the colors in a way connect the younger and older Jenna. The most remarkable change is her hair. Jenna's final childlike and colorful ensemble is contrasted by what she perceives as the final loss of her oldest friend. She goes to see Matt and finds out he's getting married the very next day. Her last outfit is the one that shows a final step in her cohesive progression. She's wearing a red pattern blouse with dark blue jeans and black open-toed heels. And to complement the outfit, she wears a beige blazer which gives her a professional appearance. However, the puffed shoulders on it give it a more playful and interesting shape. This outfit shows Jenna's final balance that sort of reconciles who she was and who she grew up to be.
I'm not a nice person. And the thing is, I'm not 13 anymore.
One of the most important things about this movie is how it portrays the way Jenna loses touch with who she truly was. And although this happens in a rather fantasized and quirky way, it reflects something deeply real, something that happens to all of us as we grow up. Because in a way, we all lose the plot. We notice that Jenna actually accomplishes all the dreams her younger self had. By the time she turns 30, she becomes everything she wanted to be at that age. 30, flirty, and thriving. She's a successful editor at a Vogue-esque fashion and style magazine, lives in New York City in a beautiful apartment, and leads a fabulous lifestyle filled with glamour and prestige. But to get that lifestyle and success, she paid a hefty price. One that makes her question not just whether it was worth it, but also whether she took for granted everything she once had at the age of 13. And it's not just her youth she lost. She's lost her support system, her friends, her family, and everything that once felt real and stable in her life. The cost of becoming who she thought she wanted to be is the loss of the person she truly was. A turning point comes when she visits her parents' house in New Jersey. The scene is set to Vienna by Billy Joel, a perfect choice and one that partially encapsulates the moral core of this movie. The lyrics serve as a reminder of what really matters and the idea that not everything has to happen at once, that life is not a race. In Joel's own words, Vienna was written after he visited the city and noticed a sharp contrast between how older people are treated in the US versus in Europe. In Vienna, he observed older people who still had a place and purpose in society. This struck him because in American culture, once you're no longer quote-unquote productive, you're often considered invisible and unimportant. The message he drew from that, and the one that the song conveys so beautifully, is that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to take your time, that even if you've taken detours, made mistakes, or lost your way, Vienna waits for you. That sentence alone evokes both comfort and hope. The sense that there are still good things ahead, and more importantly, that there's still a place for you. Even if most of your life has passed by or you've been chasing the wrong things. There's still time to return to what matters and to find where you belong. In the context of 13 going on 30, this message hits especially hard. Jenna doesn't just miss her childhood, she misses her values, her relationships, and the parts of herself that were real before she traded them in for popularity and power. Vienna underscores the emotional truth of her journey, that reclaiming who you are is always possible no matter how far of course you have gone.
Jenna, I know I made a lot of mistakes, but I don't regret making any of them.
How come?
Because if I hadn't have made them, I wouldn't have learned how to make things right.
In the end, 13 Going on 30 is far more than just a light-hearted fantasy rom-com. Beneath its vibrant colors, charming humor, and nostalgic soundtrack lies a deeply human story about identity, values, and the quiet tragedy of growing up too fast. It reminds us that success, image, and social validation mean very little when they come at cost of authenticity, connection, and inner peace. Jenna's journey is a reminder that it's easy to get swept up in the idea of who we think we should be, especially when we're young and longing for control or approval. But the real power lies in remembering who we are before the world told us who we needed to become. The evolution of her style, her relationships, and even her hair mirrors that emotional growth, from innocence to confusion to reconciliation. Every outfit, every scene, and every choice is layered with visual and emotional cues that reveal where she is in the process. And that's what makes 13 Going on 30 so enduring. Its message isn't just about fixing past mistakes, it's about making peace with them. It's about choosing again with clarity and heart and finding your way back to what truly matters. As Vienna plays in the background, we're reminded that no matter how far we stray from ourselves, there is always a path back home, and that somewhere, patiently and quietly, Vienna waits for us too. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Bye-bye!